Eliana Madrigal had never feared silence the way she feared it on the night her labor began. The pain hit her in a sharp, twisting wave, while she stood in the lavish dining room of her husband's family estate, surrounded by people who never truly wanted her there. The chandelier above her glowed too brightly. The gold-trimmed walls felt suffocating, and the polished floor beneath her feet suddenly felt too far away. She gripped the edge of the table as her breath caught. Conversation stopped. Eyes turned toward her, not in concern, but in curiosity, some even in amusement. It was her husband's mother, Celine, who spoke first. She always did. Celine Madrigal was the kind of woman who carried power like perfume, thick, overwhelming, impossible to escape. "Oh dear," she said with a smile that never reached her eyes. "Don't tell me you're going into labor here. How inconvenient." Several of the relatives laughed quietly. Eliana didn't. She felt another contraction roll through her, stronger this time, forcing her to brace herself. She looked toward her husband, Matteo, who stood stiffly with his arms crossed. He wasn't laughing, but he wasn't moving either. His eyes avoided hers, as if he couldn't bear to acknowledge what was happening. "Matteo," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's time, please." He still didn't move. Instead, Celine touched his arm with an indulgent pat, the way one might calm a child. "She can manage," she said easily. "Women have babies all the time. She's dramatic, that's all." Eliana felt something inside her crack, not physically, but emotionally, deeply. She had known her in-laws disliked her. She had known they saw her as someone unworthy of their family name, their money, their influence. But she never imagined they could be this cruel, this cold, this willing to watch her suffer without lifting a finger. Another contraction hit fiercer, sharper. She inhaled shakily. "I need to go to the hospital," she whispered. "Please, Matteo." Celine's smile widened. "You're interrupting dinner, dear." The room chuckled again. And then, unbelievably, Matteo shook his head. "You're fine," he muttered. "Just breathe through it. Dinner isn't over." Something in Eliana's chest tightened until she thought she might break apart. She stared at him, disbelieving. "I am in labor," she said slowly, clearly. "Our baby is coming." Matteo sighed, irritated, like she had announced a minor inconvenience instead of the beginning of their child's life. "Then call a driver," he said. "A doctor, someone, just not right now." Celine raised her glass, amused. "Honestly, Eliana, some self-control." The laughter that followed was a blur. Faces blurred, sounds melted. All she could hear was the fast, panicked beating of her own heart. She had never felt so alone. She had never felt so unwanted, but she refused to fall apart in front of them. She swallowed back her pain and humiliation, straightened her spine, and walked toward the door. Each step hurt, but she made it. No one followed. No one offered help, not even her husband. Outside, the night air wrapped around her like a fragile mercy. She leaned against the stone pillar by the entrance, breathing hard, praying for strength. Another contraction gathered low in her belly, spreading upward like fire. She cried out softly, gripping the cold stone with both hands. A security guard noticed her from across the driveway. He hesitated. He wasn't supposed to interfere with family matters, but when he saw her knees wobble, he rushed over. "Ma'am, are you okay?" "I need a hospital," she whispered. "Please." He nodded immediately. He didn't laugh. He didn't mock. He didn't stall. He simply acted. He radioed for the estate driver, then helped her to a bench, while she breathed through another wave of pain. The estate driver arrived faster than she expected. His name tag read Dario. He was a quiet man with tired eyes, but gentle ones, gentler than anyone inside that dining room. He rushed out of the car and opened the back door. "Ma'am, please get in. I'll get you there as fast as I can." Eliana's eyes filled with tears she refused to cry earlier. "Thank you," she whispered. The two men helped her into the car, and within seconds, they were racing out of the Madrigal estate gates. The giant iron doors closed behind them like the ending of a chapter she hadn't realized she'd needed to end. In the car, Eliana pressed her hands onto her belly, whispering softly to her unborn child, "I'm here, I'm not leaving you, we're doing this together." The pain intensified, but so did her resolve. As the car sped down the empty road, she looked out the window at the sprawling city lights below. Everything her in-laws valued, money, image, legacy, felt meaningless in comparison to the fragile heartbeat inside her. She would survive this for her baby, but she didn't know that something else was beginning, to something that would change everything. Because while she labored alone in the back seat, the Madrigal family continued their dinner, unaware that the next hours would bring consequences none of them were prepared for. Unaware that one person, the last person they expected, was about to walk into that dining room and deliver a truth that would shatter the dynasty they had built. And they had no idea that Eliana's strength, the very thing they mocked, was about to become the force that brought their empire to its knees. She wasn't just giving birth that night, she was about to start a reckoning. But the reckoning didn't come from her. It came from someone the Madrigals least expected. Mateo's estranged uncle, Arden Valdez, a man they had spent years pretending did not exist. A man who knew every secret the family had buried. Arden arrived at the estate barely an hour after Eliana's departure, stepping into the dining room with a slow, deliberate calm. He carried no anger on his face, only a cold disappointment that cut deeper than rage ever could. The room fell silent instantly. Even Celine's smile faltered. "Where is Eliana?" Arden asked, voice steady. Celine waved a dismissive hand. "She caused a scene, went into labor. We told her to take care of it quietly." Arden's jaw tightened. "She went into labor," he repeated slowly. "And you let her walk out alone?" Mateo shifted uncomfortably. She was being dramatic. Arden closed his eyes, not in disbelief, but in disgust. "Mateo, you do not deserve to call yourself a husband." Celine scoffed. "Spare us your moral lessons." She wanted attention. "And you wanted control," Arden cut sharply. "The two of you have always confused cruelty with authority." A murmur rippled through the table. Several relatives lowered their eyes, ashamed to be sitting on the wrong side of the truth. Arden stepped forward, pulling out an envelope from his coat. "Since you enjoy discussing legacies so much," he said, "let's discuss the one you tried to erase." Celine stiffened. "What are you talking about?" Arden tossed the envelope onto the table. Photos slid out, documents, account statements, hospital files. "Everything," he said, "is here." Mateo reached for a page, eyes widening as he read. "This is Dad's will." "The real one," Arden said. "The one Celine hid." The room froze. Celine stood abruptly. "This is nonsense." "No," Arden replied. "This is the truth. Your husband left half the estate to Eliana's child the moment it was born. He knew the family was rotting from the inside. He hoped a new life, an innocent one, might save it. Gasps broke around the room. And you, Arden continued, turning toward Matteo, were meant to oversee that inheritance with compassion. But you forfeited that role the moment you abandoned your wife. Celine's face twisted. You can't do this. You have no authority. Arden placed a notarized statement on the table. Your husband gave me full legal power to enforce his will in case of fraud. His eyes met hers, cold and unwavering. And you committed fraud. The Madrigal dynasty didn't crumble in screams. It crumbled in stunned silence. Back at the hospital, Eliana lay in her bed, exhausted, cradling her newborn daughter. Tears warmed her cheeks not from pain, but relief. Her baby's tiny fingers curled around hers, anchoring her to a future she hadn't dared dream of. The door opened softly. It was Arden. He stepped inside, eyes gentle. Eliana, she's beautiful. Eliana whispered, I thought I was alone. Arden shook his head. Not anymore. And your daughter? She will inherit everything they tried to deny you. Eliana looked down at her newborn, heart swelling with fierce love. The dynasty that mocked her had fallen, and the child they abandoned became the one who would rise above them all.